And welcome back to the Collapse Experiment, where today I'm going to go through some of the books, some of the stuff that I've been finding lately regarding OKC. In one particular case, it'll actually tie into Waco as well, but let's get into it, shall we? Okay, so the first book that I have here, just picked this up, didn't buy it. Fortunately, my current job, we have stuff donated. And stuff like this doesn't exactly sell well. After a certain time period, political commentary tends to just kind of die off in the yonder. So, anyways, this book is Magic and Mayhem, The Delusions of American Foreign Policy from Korea to Afghanistan. So what the hell does this have to do with Oklahoma City bombing? Let's find out, shall we? This book is by Derek Liebert. So, first section we have here is on page 127. And for the most part, let's see here, many people in the national security arena would be unlikely to count as experts were Americans not forever crying out for expertise. This is regarding terrorist experts, okay? After all, who is an expert on terror? There are some superb ones such as Brian Jenkins, a former Special Forces captain and RAND analyst who has mastered the continuities and disruptions of this subject for 30 years. So too is CNN analyst Peter Berger, who is known for conducting the first television interview with Osama bin Laden in 1997. Yeah. But legal scholars dealing with terrorism cases are skeptical about what constitutes a qualified expert witness on the subject. Alleged experts still prosper in think tanks and consultancies years after the fantastic links they drew between Saddam and Al-Qaeda have crumbled into the sand. But many of these experts also saw the perceived links between Islam and the all-American Oklahoma City bombing in 95 with its 168 dead go up in smoke. Yeah, okay, so they're acknowledging here that the idea that Islamic extremists in OKC were bunk, okay? Then we move on with R. James Woosley. This was a former CIA director. Winner. All right. Like, I've never even heard of this guy before looking into this book. But R. James Woosley who formulated the objective of Athenianizing. He formulated it, so of course it probably doesn't make sense here. Athenianizing the world was a Washington lawyer who moved in and out of the government as an arms negotiator and top Pentagon appointee for the Carter, Reagan, George Herbert Walker Bush administrations. His achievements at Stanford and Yale as a Rhodes Scholar combined with a calmly authoritative demeanor to encourage his friends to liken him to Mac Bundy. Not familiar with that guy. He became Bill Clinton's first director of Central Intelligence, but was unable to establish a relationship with the president, minimally focused on the mechanics of foreign policy. He left within 2 years, soon to join Booz Allen as a management consultant. Booz. B-O-O-Z. So yeah. By 2003, a decade after he went to Langley, few people in the capital were more eager to invade Iraq than he. After all, he had appeared on CNN within 24 hours of 9/11 to suggest Iraq's complacency. The following year, as Congress debated whether to authorize President Bush to use force against the country, Woosley insisted that Saddam Hussein had also been connected to the 1996 Oklahoma City atrocity. Well, I think they also got the year wrong. 1996 Oklahoma City atrocity. It was 95. So, yeah. Anyways, gotta love these books. And then there's the last section here. This is on page 298. Former CIA Director James Woosley was among those who insisted that Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols were tied to Saddam Hussein. Terrorism experts such as Laurie Mallory, then at AEI, and Stephen Emerson agreed, with the latter concluding that the bombing showed a Middle Eastern trait. Truck went boom. I guess that's just the thing they do. Because it was done with the intent to inflict as many casualties as possible. But then again, it says that this is from CBS News, April 1st, 1995. Just 18 days prior to this happening. This might be one of the most poorly edited, researched book. I mean, it's just 3 pages and everything's all kinds of messed up there. So anyways, that's what Derek Lebert has to say about OKC and the Middle Eastern connections. First he says that it's all bunk, and then it goes into like how these people keep saying that it's true. But then there is Craig Roberts. This is the Medusa File 2. And I have a feeling that Craig, what he did, because he was one of the lead investigators at first, and then he stepped down because he wanted to go and take different angles. I think he just kind of put all the information that he collected, regardless of whether it went in one direction or the other, threw it all into one book and said, you figure it out for yourself. So he's got one chapter here. Well, he's got one in particular about the Middle Eastern connection, and I feel like he really pushes, this idea. Chapter 11 is where he really pushes the idea of Iraqis being involved. But then there's chapter 13, where it goes into Colombian drug cartels. So he goes on about how he thinks, or it looks like these certain Arab guys living in Oklahoma were John Doe number 2 and involved in it. Then he goes on to say in chapter 13, on April 18th, 1995, the day before the bombing, a hotel employee at the Radisson Hotel in Oklahoma City noticed 2 men dressed like Arabs who were actually not Arabs. Check in. Then at the same approximate time, 2 more men who did seem to be Middle Eastern checked in at the Plaza Inn and told the desk clerk they were Mexican. Then the next day early, another man was seen leaving his room in an Arabic-style robe. The first 2 at the Plaza Inn were witnessed leaving the night before the bombing. It was reported that there was a Ryder truck in the parking lot witnessed by a security guard. So you've got Mexicans pretending to be Arabs and Arabs pretending to be Mexicans, according to this. Not really getting any answers on that, but hey, I think it's already been determined that when it comes to any Middle Eastern connection with OKC, it's just not there. And the main argument that I have heard about this is that Terry Nichols, when he went to the Philippines multiple times, and they couldn't figure out how he had the money for all these plane trips. At one point, he fled to the Philippines thinking McVeigh was going to do this thing over the holiday season when nobody's in the building. Just take care of the building and nobody else gets hurt. He didn't want to be around for that. Then nothing happened. And he came back to the States. And around that same time, there was another guy affiliated with Al-Qaeda who happened to be in the Philippines. So they were trying to make this connection that Nichols was somehow involved with this Middle Eastern group. But if you know anything about Nichols, highly doubtful. So anyways, the last interesting thing that I found actually comes from this piece of garbage book. Not saying the person is a piece of garbage, but maybe. Worthy Fights by Leon Panetta with Jim Newton. Yeah, you can see where it's like Jim Newton's probably the guy who wrote this, which is why there's so many issues with this one thing. And this comes from page 160 in this book. The news conference was on April 18th, just before 9 a.m. The following morning, Timothy McVeigh parked a rented Ryder truck. Pay attention here. Rented Ryder truck in a handicap spot in front of the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building. Never heard anybody say it was a handicap spot before. Find that a little interesting. Wasn't there a UPS truck parked at the exact same spot like 30 seconds before that? So I don't know if this is to make McVeigh look like a total piece of garbage. Like, hey, he took a handicap spot from a handicapped person. Maybe he did a handicapped person a favor by making sure they weren't in the building when this happened. I don't know. But anyways, I feel like that little detail, like, why do we'll see later in this paragraph why I'm focused on this. Like, what this detail, he parked in a handicap spot. Okay, that doesn't have to be in there. It was parked in front of the building. I don't know if it has a handicap spot or not, but okay. And then it just gets a little foobar after that. Inside the van, it's no longer a truck, it was a van. Inside the van was a load of fertilizer, racing fuel, and dynamite. At 9:02 a.m., just after parents had dropped off their children at the building's daycare center, McVeigh lit 2 fuses, locked the van behind him, and walked away quickly, not looking back. So again, like twice now, the truck, the initial truck in the first sentence is now referred to as a van. Kind of weird. And the last 2 sentences. 19 children were among the 168 who died. It was the 2nd anniversary of the shootout at the Branch Davidian compound in Waco. The shootout was in February. Then there was the standoff for ever until April 19th. And April 19th was when the compound burnt to the ground with everybody inside it except for the few people who were able to get out, who weren't shot at trying to get out because it happened to be the side of the building that was facing news crews filming the whole thing. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that paragraph is trying to say that there was an actual shootout on April 19th at the Branch Davidian compound, because there's aerial footage. If you watch the documentary Rules of Engagement, you can see the tanks going in and out of the building. They're pumping in tear gas. There's some video that shows that there's a flame that is sticking out of one of the tanks. It looks like the tank is setting the building on fire. There's other aerial footage of guys standing behind the tank shooting at the building while it's on fire at the same spot where there's windows in the kitchen area where people were probably trying to crawl out. So was there a shootout where the Branch Davidians like shooting back trying to escape from the building that's now engulfed in flames and they were kept in there? Who knows? I mean, the whole paragraph itself was poorly written, obviously. I mean, a truck turns into a van. McVeigh's parking in a handicap spot because he's a dick, I guess. And, yeah, apparently there was a shootout on a day where officially, according to the people involved who didn't die that day, there was no shootout. Or was there? So anyways, yeah. That's some of the fun stuff that I find in these books that I've been able to pick up, where these people try to write their version of history and put it on page, and wrong year, wrong day for news article, yeah. the things I go through to find the truth. Keep on typing.